Hello, and welcome back to the Grown Ups Table podcast. I'm your host, Philip Schmidt, and today's episode is about commitment. In today's episode, I interviewed Mr. Ryan Reel. Mr. Ryan is an entrepreneur, owning his own tree business. He always sticks to whatever project he's working on and always gives it his best, no matter what. That's why I chose him for this topic. Here's how the interview went. We're going to start with getting to know you. So, what's your name?
Ryan.
Ryan, and what do you do for a living?
I do tree work.
All right, and you're an entrepreneur, right?
Yes.
Would you like to elaborate on how that's like?
It's nice. It has its perks. But when you're not working, you're not making money.
Mm.
But it's nice because you have the freedom to take off when you want to. Kids have sports or something, a game.
Right.
You can go do that. If you want to go on a trip for the day, you can go do that, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty flexible. So that's pretty nice.
How hard is it to find jobs?
Depending on the year, there's ups and downs. It is a roller coaster ride. Some days or some months are better than others.
Mm-hmm.
But typically during the winter times, it gets slow.
Oh. So you have like employees, right?
I've got usually 1 to 2
Okay.
at any given time.
So today's topic is about commitment. And the first question I have for you is how you stay committed when others around you lose motivation. I work in group projects sometimes, and it can be hard, if everyone else kind of gives up, but the project still has to be done. And I feel like you can probably relate to that with, maybe not an employee because you're not really allowed to give up, but in situations like that, how do you keep your motivation when you're the only one left standing?
Well, like you, being the group leader, you have to get the job done. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You got to get it done. So in my situation, I'm the owner of the business. I've got to get the job done no matter what my employees are doing or anyone around me. We're going to get it done. So whether it's me being motivated, I'm definitely motivated the whole time to get it done, whether people around me are or not.
Mm-hmm. Can you think of a time where everyone else gave up, you still had to do it yourself?
I just think on some of the longer jobs maybe that actually last 8 hours.
Ooh.
And we haven't had much of a break in between, just because we got to get it done in one day. You can get worn out, and obviously you lose a little motivation when you get tired and hungry. But then we keep persevering through it, get it complete, and then just have a big meal at the end.
Yeah, the reward at the end.
Yes,
yeah.
The end.
Do you think that having that reward at the end is a good way to keep yourself motivated?
More so for the employees and myself.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Do you think there's ever a time, maybe not in a tree job, because you're kind of relying on, having integrity in that situation, but do you think there ever is a time to give up on whatever you're working on?
Yes. If you figure out that something is beyond your capabilities, your safety is at jeopardy or someone's property,
right?
Then you have to take a step back and just admit and say, hey, I can't handle this, but I know someone that can, and just be upfront with the customer. But typically, I don't find myself in these situations because I do quotes on site and I know if I can do it or not.
That makes sense, yeah.
I'm ahead of that, so I'm already telling them if they need to have someone else do it or if I'm not going to do it.
Right. Is there ever a time where you maybe have to finish a job by the end of the day, but it's just not possible? How do you navigate that in either trying to figure out if maybe I can push through and do it, or maybe I need to just own up and say, hey, I'm going to need another day on this?
Typically, customers are pretty flexible. As long as you can get it done the day after you've already started, they're pretty understanding, especially when they see how long the job takes and how much work you're putting into it. And especially when they see you working through it, not taking a lot of breaks like we should and just muscling through it. They see and respect how long it takes. And if I know there's only an hour or two left, we usually push through it. But if I see there's 3 or 4 hours, then I'll actually stop a little bit early, to give us more time the next day to do it.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Well, can you share with me a time in your life, maybe with a tree job, maybe with something different, where your commitment to a situation turned around what was happening? It was all failing, but then something made that little change with your commitment and you were able to push through and get it done?
I had one job where I thought I could handle it. Like I said, I'd, go to the location first and look at it. Thought I could handle it, and it turned out I couldn't handle one of the trees because of proximity to a house and how it was leaning. And I actually just went to one of my friends out outside a tree company and asked for his help to get that part of it done while I finished the other part, and we were able to get the job done with no problem, but still followed through with it.
So, kind of asking for help from someone else?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Can't be afraid if it comes to it.
Okay. So, how do you not make excuses?
You just don't.
You just don't?
You just don't.
You just don't?
You just push forward. Don't make excuses.
And what's the difference in your mind behind a reason and an excuse?
An excuse is a way to get out of doing something you're capable of doing or completing. The reason is legitimate. It's something that you can't get around. There's variables that say, hey, I can't get this complete. There's a reason why I can't complete this. It's not an excuse, but it's a legitimate reason with factual backing it, saying, hey, this is why. And it's reasonable to the other person you're talking to, usually.
Okay, do you think getting an outside opinion can help you differentiate between the two?
Yes, and experience.
Yeah, that makes sense too. So we kind of talked about other people helping you reach your goals, but we talked about that more in the sense of just getting a second hand to, help you cut down a tree or something. What we didn't talk about is accountability from others. How do you think that accountability from, whether that's an employee, maybe, probably not, but just a friend, maybe even a customer, can help shape your commitment?
Well, with my company, my motto is integrity in every cut. So I've already put forth an understanding when people see the name of Realtree LLC that there's integrity in every cut from the beginning to the end. When you think of integrity, you're going to see commitment. And also by the people that I try employing are also people who have more of a moral background, hopefully.
Right.
And are striving for the same ultimate goals like I am, heaven one day. And by having those people around you, iron sharpens iron, and it also creates accountability, not only for me, but for them as well.
Right.
So it's a matter of who you put yourself around.
Is there a situation in your life where you gave up on something and you just totally regret that?
I really can't think of anything I've regretted giving up on. I mean, some people could say, hey, when you moved to Georgia and you were with Colonial Pipeline, they let me go 4 months into the job. And that's when I started Realtree that same day. But I don't think I gave up, and I stayed there until that point. I didn't give up. I knew it was inevitable because I could see it in the horizon. It was heading that direction, but I wasn't giving up until they told me different, because you always give your best at whatever you do, because we're told to do that. It doesn't mean you're always going to be successful, but you always give it your best. So I don't really look back on something and regret anything I gave up on, because I don't think I've given up on anything.
To you personally, what does the word commitment mean?
Commitment means sticking to something and completing it, whether it's fun or not fun, because you have the ability to do it.
Right.
Sticking with it till the end.
It's something that you're supposed to do and you need to get it done.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that.
Whether it's hard or not hard.
Now, you said that the motto of your company is integrity in every cut. I want to know your thoughts on how integrity and commitment play into each other.
Commitment, you're going to follow through with the job, complete it. The integrity part of it, you're going to follow through with it, still do a good job, quality job, even when the customer is not around or looking.
Yeah.
So there's some places can have commitment, finish a job, but it's poorly done. You're going to do a job with integrity. It's going to be professionally done from beginning to end, from quote to the cleanup. It's going to be professional. There's not any loopholes you're trying to get through. You're not skipping out on something.
Right.
That's integrity.
You said earlier of that example of you had to leave a job early to come back the next day to cut it. Do you think if you didn't have the integrity playing along with your commitment that you might have just rushed through, kind of, hacked off those
Oh,
extra
yeah.
limbs and run off, and then you wouldn't have? So your commitment and your integrity together made
Exactly.
you,
Yeah.
yeah,
You're still going to come back and do a great job and that's why I said if I know there's 3 or 4 hours left instead of just 1 or 2 hours, we'll do the full commitment with integrity all the way through for a couple more hours. That's fine. But if it's going to be longer than that to where, it goes into the next day, cut it off early so you're going to have enough time to really get it done with quality the next day
right.
and not waste your whole day. But that should never change. Your quality should never change regardless how long it takes.
So you seem to have a very solid view on commitment. This seems to be a big part of your life, and I'm wondering where you got that from. Was that your father? Was that I don't know, maybe a teacher or something?
Now, I would say my dad would probably have the biggest effect because just kind of a personal story a little bit. And my mom had mental issues as a child growing up. Ever since I've known her, and my dad stayed with her through thick and thin. Very committed to her, even though she was in her worst times in her life. They talk about marriage for better or for worse. Probably majority of it for him was worse.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he stuck with her and we saw that growing up, I mean, naturally, I think that became a part of what I am today.
I have two more questions for you here. So the first one is whenever you're getting started on a new task, there's always that kind of excitement. Maybe you still get that with other tree jobs is, hey, that one's going to be really fun to cut down. But then, once you're up there and you've been cutting it down for the past 2 hours and you're sweaty and you're tired, how do you keep that commitment, keep that motivation, that integrity all the way through the job, even once that initial excitement of it wears off?
The excitement usually runs off in a few hours on things. Mm-hmm. Luckily, we do enough changing of different trees and shrubs or whatever. It's not focused 8 hours on one tree, so it's hard to lose that commitment. And then, but even if it is like that, when we do shrubs, it's not fun. No one likes doing shrubs. And it just keeps giving, but it seems like forever to give up, to pick it up. And you lose that sense of motivation, but the motivation really isn't in that particular work. The motivation is in the integrity and the motivation of us being told we need to do everything with all our heart. That's the motivation. It's for a higher power. It's not for the job itself at hand. It's because we're doing it for the glory of God.
Yeah. Do you think commitment is a skill or a personality trait or something different?
I don't think it's either of those. I think it's something that you learn. Over time. And I think it's something that the person has to take full acknowledgement of and grasp it themselves. It's not something that someone can really tell you to do. You can see it by example and run with it on your own and say, okay, they were committed to this. How can I be committed to what I'm doing and the things I'm facing?
Okay, so we're going to move on to the rapid fire segment. My first question is, are you a morning person or a night owl? When's your productivity at its peak?
Probably in the middle. I'm not a morning person. I don't like to stay up late either.
Okay. I've not got that answer yet. All right. Everyone else was immediately morning person. I'm like, man, I'm the complete opposite. Yeah, okay.
People are surprised because I have my own business, tree work, and I'm not a morning person, but I really am not.
Yeah. All right. You have busy days. What's your favorite way to unwind after a nice busy day?
Probably just sitting on the couch doing nothing. Sounds lazy, I know.
Well, not after a busy day.
Yeah.
Sounds deserved.
That's a terrible answer.
No, I think it makes sense. I mean, well, what's one thing you wish you had more time for?
Probably bass fishing.
Bass fishing, okay. Yeah. You a big fishing guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know Colton only wears Moxie and Co shirts.
And with the last name Real, I mean, how can you not be?
Yeah, makes sense, yeah. What's one thing you would change about the world?
The worldliness in it?
Yeah. If everyone acted as God intended, the world would be a lot better, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Great.
All right, so you were 17 once, I'm 17 now. You've made some mistakes in your life, I'd assume. What's some advice you would have given to your younger self back then that maybe people my age can relate to and can take something from.
If you have people that have God in their lives, some moral value to them, listen to their advice because they've been through it. And I see it now that I'm older. I was like, wow, when I was 17, I was pretty dumb. I should have listened to this other person that was 40 something at the time.
Yeah.
They were good people. They're trying to do what God wants too. And that's the kind of wisdom you want. You don't want wisdom from the world because they'll lead you possibly down the wrong path. But take time to actually listen to the wisdom of people who are godly.
And that concludes this episode. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you next time. I'm your host, Philip Schmidt, and this has been the Grown Ups Table Podcast.